Welcome to our SPSS lecture series. In this series, we'll discuss about introduction to SPSS. First and foremost, when SPSS is installed in your system, it appears as the official logo of the SPSS. So sometimes it might actually not appear in your desktop. You might actually have to locate it somewhere around the menu. When you click on the menu, you locate where SPSS is, and mostly it appears as IBM SPSS statistics. So you click on it, then you locate where it is and you open. So the speed of opening SPSS depends on the speed of your computer. When SPSS first opens, this IBM SPSS statistics version opens, then it presents to you with some of these options. The first option here is the new data set. If you are to type in new data, then you click on the new data set and click your OK. But if you have a database where you want to retrieve your data from, then you just click on the new database query and click your OK. Here are the recent files which have been used in this SPSS on this laptop. So if there's anyone also you have saved in your laptop before in the SPSS version, you can just click or locate on it and click, then you open. Then in this aspect here is the tutorial aspect where you can navigate through these options and follow through the demonstration in the SPSS to learn personally about SPSS. The module and programmability is another option presented to you here, where you can actually see some of those programs that have been installed in this SPSS version. Then the next one here is the what's new. These are the programs that have been installed in this SPSS that is not in the previous version. So for us, we can just go to the new data set and we click OK. And so here is the data view SPSS environment. In this environment, you can actually type in your data, you can format, you can maybe also locate any of this menu. This menu, they have different functions. From the file, you can actually open new data set, you can actually read the ones you have been installed, or you can even save. Or you can also go to the recently used data or recently used files to locate any other data you have saved in your system. Then the editor also has functions where you can actually insert variables or cases or search for data. Then data also has its own functions, and when you click on it, you can see different drop downs. Each of these ones has their own functions they perform. The same thing, they transform, they analyze, direct marketing, graphs, utility, add-ons, windows, and help, and so on. Then the icons here also, each of them have their own function. They also perform some functions like the menu that we have actually looked at here. Now, the next environment of the SPSS is the variable view environment. When you click on the variable view, it takes you to another page. I mean, the same page, but different view. This is actually the place where you can format your variable to suit the kind or format your data. I mean, to suit the kind of data you have obtained. And you know, different type of variable and different types of data we can actually get from those variables. The first place here is the name. What is the name of your variable? Supposing we have a variable like let's say gender. Say gender. We can actually type it here and to name our variable. Then what type of data are we imputing in the gender? Actually, it has to be numeric because we cannot actually put a word there because SPSS do not recognize words when it comes to data, except in some instances where we can actually make it as a string variable. But in this aspect, if we have code our variable, our gender as maybe nominal variable where 1 represents male, 2 represent female, we can just say, okay, it is numeric. Then what about the width? The width, okay, we can actually say, let's leave it as 8. The width tells you the number of digit that will be present before it can actually approximate. Then the decimal place, here we don't need a decimal place here, so we can actually just say 0, and click OK. Then our decimal appeared as 0. Then label. The label also serve the same function as the gender. The difference is that in the name here, you cannot act in variables that have two-word name. Here will never accept it, except you combine the words together to form one. But in the label, we can actually give a two-word name variable. Let's take, for instance, if actually our gender is gender of students, for instance. Here is a three-word name now, but we can only say gender of student. We abbreviate. But in this aspect here, in the label, we can now say gender of students. So here space is allowed, but here space is not allowed. Let's try it and see. Gender of students, and see what happened. You see, here the variable name contains an illegal character, so it is illegal to space two or more words name, variable name in the name. But as of label, it can actually accept. Then values. In some of these our variables where we actually is a nominal variable, like the case of gender, we have to give the label to those digits we are going to fix in the data view, because those numbers, they are just for nominal sake, for naming sake. They don't have any quantitative value. So we have to tell SPSS that these digits we have fixed there, 1 representing male, 2 representing female, they are just there as for labeling. They don't have any quantitative value. So in order to do that, we click at the right hand side of this value none. Then it displays this dialog box, the value labels. Then you can actually put 1 here and say what will 1 represent, or what 1 as represented in the data. Male. You can click. Then we say 2 represent female. Then we add, and you say OK. So now whatever number we will fix under this GOS, gender of students, 1 or 2, SPSS knows what it means. So now the next aspect here is the missing value. The missing value here, it shows that wherever you measure a data from a variable, measure data from variables. Now if the data is a large set of data, there's tendency that some data might be missing. So we can actually include them here. We just click at the right hand side and this dialog box appears. Then if there's no missing values, we leave it as none. If there are, we can just click on the discrete, then we fix the values here that we think they are missing, or we can actually look at the range of those values, the lowest and the highest, and what are those discrete values, and we click OK and we are done. But in some instance, right from the data view, we can actually put in place of those missing values, we can just put 99 or 999. So this is a language of SPSS to understand what it means, that there is a missing value in this corner. Or sometimes you can just decide to leave it. SPSS itself will just put dots there to show that there's a missing value there. And then the next thing is the columns. The columns actually doesn't mean anything very much, but let's talk about the align. In terms of the align, is just an arrangement of how your data will appear in your data view. Is it to appear at the right hand side, or at the left hand side, or at the center? This is just what this align means. Now this measure is actually very important in terms of data analysis. Actually there are 4 levels of measurement in statistics, where we have the nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, and ratio scale. But in SPSS, the interval and ratio scale are labeled as scale. But in the case of gender, where we have used 1 or 2 to label male, this is a nominal variable, so we can just put nominal there. The numbers that we have fixed in there, they have no quantitative value. Then this role also is important. What role is this variable performing in your analysis? Is it an input variable that is an independent variable, or a target variable, which is the dependent variable? Or is it serving as both independent and dependent variable, or none? Or is the variable serving as a categorical variable? So if it falls within one of these, then we can just choose whatever. But in this case of our gender of students, we may just leave it as partition, that is categorical variable, and we are done labeling our variable and we have format our variable, then we can just go ahead and start typing our data. Here we can say maybe 1, that would represent male, then we can say 2, which represent female. We can say 1, which represent male, or we can say 2, which represent female, and so on. And in sometimes you can actually, now we can see that in this our agenda of students, you can see actually the words appear there. We can just come here and click this, then it will change to 1 or 2, 1 or 2, and continue putting 1 or 2. We can say 1, 1, 2, 2. So SPSS understands that these values have no quantitative value, they are just for nominal sake. And if we click back here again, you can see all what we have inserted will actually show. So this is how to format our variable. Thank you very much for listening, and we meet you in the next series of this SPSS lecture. Thank you.